Oh, yes.
Why are these two independent samples? Why can't we just match them up? Why can't we just take one of the kids in the first sample's brain volume and the next kid's brain volume, subtract them, and then take the next kid in the first sample, then the next kid in the second sample, subtract them, and then the next kid, subtract them. Give me a couple of reasons why we can't or shouldn't do that here.
There's no before and after. There's nothing that's been administered to these.
Good! It's not like we're checking the kid's brain volume at birth and then checking it again at 4 years and looking at like a percentile ranking. We're not doing that. There's no before and after. Very nice, Will. Very nice. Mathematically, you couldn't do it with this anyway, could you? Look at the Gesundheit. Look at the sample sizes. Look at the sample sizes. Even if you had the raw data, you couldn't do it because you had different numbers. Which happens sometimes. That happens sometimes. You don't have to have equal samples for this. Good, good. Okay, so there is no, contextually, I like your answer the best, Will, just because it tells us why we shouldn't do it. We shouldn't do it because it's improper to do it that way. Actually, I do have two different samples here with two different averages, sample averages, and two different standard deviations with around those averages. This is two completely different populations, so we're into that two parameter, two average testing, two mean testing. Good, very good, very good. Fair enough? Okay, so what are our hypotheses going to be? Let's define mu1 and mu2. What's mu1 going to be? Your choice, doesn't matter to me, your choice, mu1. You pick, mu1.
ADHD.
Say that again.
The
ADHD, kid, brain volume. ADHD kids, parentheses, brain volume. So therefore mu2 is going to be?
No ADHD.
Good, the kids without ADHD. Non-ADHD kids, brain volume. Good. What's the claim indicated by the research? What's the claim indicated by the research?
Those with ADHD have a smaller brain volume.
So the average brain of the ADHD kid is going to be smaller than the average brain of a non-ADHD kid. That's what I'm reading too, yeah? Good. You see how you could switch these up if you define your variables differently? So there's two ways you can say it. You can say the ADHD kids have smaller brains, or the non-ADHD kids have bigger brains. It's up to you. This is why it doesn't matter what you pick as long as you put your data in the correct way. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Fair? Okay. What's the null is not as important anymore because you have the research that there is no difference. Shall we crunch? I think we're at the crunch step, yes? Let's figure this out. Swing over here. All right. Let's go back to our two-sample t-test. We got stats this time. We got stats, not data. So you have to enter in all your statistics based on your articles. And this is sometimes the problem with gathering this data from articles. They often only give you summary statistics. So ADHD kids, 1,059.4 milliliters, plus or minus 117.5, 152 of them. Large sample, tiny margins of error. Tiny margins of error, that means small differences are going to look statistically significantly extreme. That's okay. That's okay. X2, that's going to be the non-ADHD kids, 1104.5, plus or minus 111.3, with 139 kids. Leave it unpulled. Pick the correct sign, which is less than in this case. We're going for less than. We want those ADHD kids to have smaller brain volumes. Let's take a peek. Let's take a peek. Here she comes. Well, if we had any area, it would be down there. Because it's a left-tailed test. And we've got some area. There's not a whole lot. Negative 3.4 on a test statistic with a p-value that's essentially 0. What does this mean? What does this mean? What's this mean, step 4? What's it mean? What are we testing?
Say it looks like they do have ADHD has a smaller.
They got smaller brain volumes. That's what the data looks like. Looks like ADHD kids have significantly smaller brain volumes. How many standard deviations away from 0 are they?
-3.
Yeah! 3.4, that's far. That gives you your small little p-value. All right. Could we be wrong? Yeah? Well, in what way this time? What kind of error can you make here?
False positive.
False positive. What would have been worse in this case, a false positive or a false negative? Even though we could have made a false positive, but for this particular test, in your opinion, what would be more damaging, a false positive or a false negative? False positive means we say ADHD kids have smaller brains when in fact they don't. What would a false negative have been if we could have gotten one?
Saying there's no difference.
Saying,
Between brain volumes.
exactly, saying that there isn't a difference or that ADHD kids don't have a smaller brain volume when in fact they do. What do you think is worse and why? Not claiming that either answer is equal. Josh, what do you think? Or are you just moving? You're just moving. I'm sorry. You're just moving. Sorry. Cass, go!
The false negative, because then they would probably just go, okay, well, they have the same brain volume and move on, whereas looking more into it.
I would like to know, and this is something the article didn't answer, why are they looking at brain volume? What do you think is important about brain volume that they're interested in?
Medications, maybe.
Oh, interesting. Maybe amounts of medications? That's good, right? So if they say there's no difference in medications, and the ADHD kids actually do have smaller brains, let's say, for example, the medication is tied to the size of the brain or the size of organs, maybe the brain of which is one. Maybe they don't get enough medication. Good, that's good. Anybody say a false positive is worse, saying that brains are smaller when they actually aren't? You could argue maybe for the exact same reason. If you think the brain is smaller, you might give them an improper dose. I mean, you can kind of go either way with that one. So, yeah, please, Lindsay.
Kind of an interesting story. In China, they don't define ADHD, and so there's no such thing.
There's no such thing.
As ADHD in China. I just think it's interesting looking at this.
Yeah.
How we're classifying brain volume.
Find a link between the contingency of having or not having ADHD and the presence or absence of brain volume. Yeah. Have you guys heard there's research that says ADHD isn't a disorder? It's actually hyper-awareness. I heard that about 6 months ago. I heard this one. It's not a disorder. It's just the inability to focus because you're hyper-aware of everything. Makes me feel better. But I mean, it's one of those things. Like, I mean, what is it? It's one of those. You defined it to be a certain thing. What makes it? What makes? How do we know? I mean, did anybody stop to think what makes an ADHD kid an ADHD kid? It's usually a diagnosis, right? How's the diagnosis done? Does anybody know? I don't. I mean, I was considered hyperactive. ADHD wasn't around when I was young. It's called hyperactivity. Poster child.
Yeah.
Ah!
Questions.
Oh, interesting. Who answered them?
You actually
You
answered
answered.
it.
How about really young kids?
The child, they do tests on the child, and
Yeah.
ask them questions and like see, like, normally it's teachers who end up contacting the parents saying like, your child can't focus in school, you don't have to.
Gotcha.
My little brother's having that problem right now. They
Mhm.
want to put him on medication, my mom's like, no.
I can already see my son's gonna have that problem just because, and watching him, he's a ridiculously curious little dude. And he gets so excited about wanting to learn stuff that he just starts blurting things out when it's just simply how to kind of focus. And part of me is like, I don't want to ever contain that.
Was that a bad thing? Yeah.
No, I don't want to contain that, but at the same time,
Exactly.
Yeah.
a schooling environment kind of
It takes the right
necessitates that it has to be that way unless somebody can deal with that kind
Yeah.
But when a teacher has like 35 kids, and you have that one
It
kid that's
becomes
like
an issue,
blurting
doesn't it?
out, and that's when they contact you to get them on meds because they don't have the
of. And this is interesting.
capacity.
Do
to
we
deal
make the
with
kids fix the system or do we fix the system to match the kids? And that's,
See, and that's based on the parents, because like, they wanted me to go on medication as a kid too, and the teachers hated me, but my mom said no.
I hate you with strong Cassie.
And now you have a
serious.
big
They were
brain
tired.
Strong.
because it didn't make your brain smaller.
Say that again.
Now your brain volume isn't affected. for
Right.
baby.
And even if it was, what the hell is brain volume measuring anyway? Why are we talking about that? I don't know. I have no good answer for that. All we know is we found a significant decrease in brain size among these ADHD kids, statistically. We can argue all day long about whether it's important or not. Which we don't have to. That's not what the class is about. That's what survey methods is about. All right, we'll do proportions next time, which is similar to means, but don't need to rush that in. You got a project for next time, yeah? Bootstrap. Bootstrap. Good stuff, good stuff. See you guys then. This thing's still running. Yes, till 3:30. We need to get till 3:30. We'll get you then. Of course. Grab my plate, pass no pass.